Welcome back, folks. So a lot has happened since we spoke last time. The U.S. presidential elections took place. The Federal Reserve meeting took place on November 6th. So we have a lot to talk about. But before that, please like, share, subscribe, so we can continue to bring this fun news to you from this platform. So first of all, on November 4th, the U.S. presidential elections took place. President-elect Donald Trump won for the third time. Whether you like it or you don't like it, I personally believe he won for the third time. The Federal Reserve meeting took place on November 6th, and Federal Reserve reduced interest rates yet another time by 0.25%. They have another meeting scheduled in December, and they are going to reduce interest rates by another 0.25%. Right before the November 6th meeting, there was the unemployment report, the jobs report that came out that showed that the unemployment rate remained steady at 4.1%. So that was promising news for Federal Reserve. So they continued on with the decision to reduce the interest rate by 0.25%. Donald J. Trump gets elected on November 5th, and some of the things that he has said about the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell have been causing some interesting news. Donald Trump has said categorically that he will fire Jerome Powell from his post as Chairman Federal Reserve. Now, presidents do not have the power to fire the Chairman of Federal Reserve, but it's just continuing to build pressure on Jerome Powell while he does his job. His term is going to last until 2026, but let me show you some clips, really interesting clips where you have the financial news reporters asking Jerome Powell if he's worried about getting fired, if he is worried about Donald J. Trump and his associates making comments that he needs to let go. So let's watch these some clips that I've put together, and you'll see that at some points Jerome Powell gets irritated, gets a little upset about those continued barrage of questions, and they're just hammering him again and again about him getting fired from his job. So let's watch it.
Victoria. Hi, Victoria Guido with Politico. Some of the president-elect's advisors have suggested that you should resign. If he asked you to leave, would you go?
No.
Can you follow up on, do you think that legally you're not required to leave?
No. I guess the other question is, to follow up on Victoria's question, do you believe the president has the power to fire or demote you, and has the Fed determined the legality of a president demoting at will any of the other governors with leadership positions?
Not permitted under the law.
Not what?
Not permitted under the law.
Thank you.
Courtney.
Okay, so as you saw, there's talk about Donald Trump firing Jerome Powell. Now, Jerome Powell is not the only person that Donald J. Trump is talking about firing. The other person Donald Trump is talking about firing is Gary Gensler. He is the Securities and Exchange Commission chairman. Now, why does Donald Trump wants to fire Gary Gensler? So in order to understand that, we have to take into context Donald J. Trump's stand about Bitcoin. So let me show you a little 1-minute clip about Donald Trump talking about Bitcoins and cryptocurrency.
I'm laying out my plan to ensure that the United States will be the crypto capital of the planet and the Bitcoin superpower of the world, and we'll get it done. If crypto is going to define the future, I want to be mined, minted, and made in the USA. It's going to be. It's not going to be made anywhere else. And if Bitcoin is going to the moon, as we say, it's going to the moon, I want America to be the nation that leads the way. And that's what's going to happen. I pledge to the Bitcoin community that the day I take the oath of office, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's anti-crypto crusade will be over. It will end. It'll be done. It'll be done. On day one, I will fire Gary Gensler and appoint a new SEC chairman.
So as you saw in this clip that Donald Trump is talking about firing Gary Gensler on day one of his presidency. And the story behind that is that Gary Gensler, as the SEC chairman, has a very strong stand against cryptocurrencies, against Bitcoin for a fact, because Gary Gensler believes that these currencies are speculative and they have not built enough investor confidence, and a lot of fraudsters and speculative forces are using the cryptocurrencies to their benefit at the expense of the consumers. Donald Trump and his associates want to bring in Dan Gallagher, who is the former commissioner of Securities and Exchange Commission. So Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are not necessarily bad. A lot of the states, governments in the United States are passing legislation to switch some of their reserves in cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. There is some legislation in at least some states to allow consumers to pay their taxes in cryptocurrencies or in Bitcoin. Some of the foreign countries have talked about keeping their reserves in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies to kind of protect themselves against the volatile nature of the US dollar. So there's some benefits to it. But to Gary Gensler's point, it's very speculative and a lot of consumers can be taken advantage of. So with that said, let's see how the market develops. In the meantime, a lot of people are saying that let's hold off on the market and let's see if we can get some either further down, some more lower interest rates before we buy a house. So you could argue that when was the best time to buy a house? So you could say, well, the best time to buy a house was maybe in 2020 when houses were cheaper, or even before that, or 2015, or 2011, or 1999. So my advice to you is, if you want to buy a house, buy it now. If you want to sell a house, sell it now, because markets will continue to develop. So the best time to buy or sell a house is now. With that said, guys, thank you for watching, and we'll continue to bring you more informative news as things develop.